Good morning. This is Corinne DuBose. And lately I've been going through a series of events involving what's called isolation and removal operation. A lot of you on YouTube have been calling these gang stalking operations. And yourselves targeted individuals. But there's two things I want to talk about this morning. Number one, I want to talk about gang stalking briefly, and then I want to talk about actual spiritual psychic attacks that are coming from what's called walk-in personalities and astral entities. So for starters, basically, if you wind up in an isolation and removal operation, there's going to be a number of things you had to do in life prior to that beginning that would have actually created the situation for you to be in. And for example, either A, at some point in your life you worked for the federal government, maybe on a classified project or in some type of military project that involved sensitive or compartmented information, need to know basis information, or if you work there with some federal government agency under the same umbrella of secrecy, if it's not the case that you've worked for the federal government and wind up being targeted for removal from society, which is what it is, you might have angered or pissed off someone with power or in a high place, or maybe somebody had authority over you in the business world and they don't want you there, and they understand how to do these things, because we live in a society where a lot of people have been like I was saying, ex-federal agents, ex-military. These guys have been spec ops rangers all the time. They know all types of nasty weapons, tricks, and stuff to do away with other people. If you're living in one of the situations like that right there, because I don't want to dwell on it too long, I've been on Facebook and YouTube dwelling on it, and you don't try to appeal to these people. They're not going to help you. The best thing you can do in a ISR or CIA gang stalking operation, even though it's not technically the CIA, they call it the CIA. What's actually happened is the CIA has basically funneled its technology, its old, outdated Cold War technology, down through the chains, and now it's been disseminated to these other agencies who might not be as scrupulous or wise as to how they use it. So they'll use it on random people out in public. They want a veteran gone, they can get him gone. All right. If they want some rogue FBI agent gone that's been whistleblowing and talking, if they want Edward Snowden gone, they can get him gone. They can use satellites. They can make you hear voices. They can give you other people's thoughts. They can transfer thoughts through transmental resonance. They'll have people stalk you, home invasions. They'll hack your computers, put viruses on your computers, like Stuxnet viruses that just completely obliterate your operating system. You can't even get the loading screen, the boot menu to come up. So these people have state-of-the-art technology. They don't have a consciousness because they're detached from society by working in those high up, like intel circles and positions of power within the federal United States military and industrial complex. It's dreamland technology. It's the best way to describe it as being the use of Cold War, Iron Curtain, anti-espionage, counterintelligence technology on a civilian level, and they've expanded it out now where they can use this to control the mood and during riots, crowds, situations of unrest, like in recently in St. Louis, Boston, and other places like that. They also make people snap and go shoot up movie theaters, like the guy out in the Batman theater shooting, was in Colorado Springs or wherever. They can make mass public shootings. They can cause regime changes in places you don't even know exist until you see them on the news, like Ukraine and Yemen, for example. And you won't know that there are forces from our country that are causing these regime changes and total collapses of society. So basically, it's a technology. It's sonic technology. They're playing a trick on you. You know, it's really smoke and mirrors, but the end result is usually deadly for the target. So if you're being removed from society, I know I skip around. The best advice I can offer you is don't try to appeal to many people in the public, because they're going to think you're nuts, report you to mental institutions and law enforcement. You have to keep moving. Oftentimes you'll have to live alone or with a trusted companion that understands that you might be telling the truth, or at least a trusted family member that won't stab you in the back. And you have to be armed, because there are people that will perform a home invasion and remove your life. You know, they'll remove you. They'll take you to a secluded stretch of woods and just park a van out there with your corpse decaying in it. All right, don't think just because these people work for federal agencies and have been in the United States military or vice versa, that they're honorable people just because they got a few medals slapped across the sleeve of their coat, or they've worn a badge of some sort before. These people can be paid to do just about anything. So it's your life that they're trying to take. So that's it for me on the gang stalking portion, because I'm gonna make this a short. It's not necessarily a video. I'm actually just talking through my mic. And what concerned me is there's a lot of confusion about what when it comes to gang stalking operations, and hearing voices and like all this harassment and personal targeting that comes from the public associated with being in a ISR operation, versus actual spiritual text, something that I'm more deeply interested in. But I want to go ahead and touch on spiritual battles and attacks that are coming from non-human intelligence that might actually be working in coordination with human intelligence. And this is going to be a doozy because it's hard to understand. So basically, you have to be vigilant about your own protection, and you're going to have to arm yourself. I don't care if you're an old lady, 56 years old, and you used to work as a FBI or a CIA agent. Maybe you were a defense contractor, and they decided that you were doing a little too much talking around your circles and maybe on social media, and they're finna give it to you. They'll microwave your brains out. You have to defend yourself against these people, because the authorities are not going to do anything except incarcerate or institutionalize you. So spiritual assaults are something actually different. It can be in tandem with these people because the level of technologies that are being involved, but this is what you must understand in order to understand a spiritual assault. Okay, our reality is this physical, three-dimensional reality plus time. We all know that. We've all been taught that in physics, in grammar school, and all this stuff right here. We understand it's a solid universe. We walk around, we sit down, we drive cars, we go to work. Airplanes are flying overhead. It's solid this, it's solid that. Matter, gravity, you know, sound, you know, you can breathe. There's solids, liquids, there's Martian. On top of this universe, this flesh universe, there's a subtle universe that is basically like a fabric of energy that kind of contains, and basically it is an imprint of what exists in this world. This world creates an imprint on the fabric of the next reality up. It's not like a separate or alternate reality where there's an alternate you. No, it's the same you. It's just the energy form of you that is being imprinted on the fabric of that reality. And that reality, you know, this is the definition that is caused by your growth and development as a human being while you're living in a physical body. And not only that, there are solid objects in there too, just like your house, your chairs, your couch, the TV. A lot of these objects are irrelevant in the astral plane, which is that next reality up there, irrelevant because they don't have spirit matter in them. There are objects that are relevant that have spirit matter in them, were biological life forms, like yourself, like your pets, maybe the animals that you see on Animal Planet, National Geographic, you know, all that, you know. So when these animals live and exist and they die, there's an imprint left behind of them for however so long that is retained in the astral fabric of the next reality up. As you can imagine, there are a lot of dead people. And being human yourself, growing up and just whatever circumstances you did, you know that there's both good and bad people. It doesn't need that much explaining. Okay, now that you understand what I mean by the separation of realities, those people, when they die, they have to go somewhere. And I mean, as you can probably follow, that's where they go. They're going into the astral plane. And if they're numbskulls, all right, if these people were rapists and they didn't care that they killed like 19-year-old girls and dumped them in the middle of the Mississippi Valley somewhere where no one can find them, they're not going to care on the other side either. If they were gangbangers that, well, used to like to shoot people up, beat the crap out of people at the club, don't mind if they run you over in the middle of the street on the block, they're going to be there. People like FARC and these drug cartels, they're going to be there. It's not just, I'm not talking about black street gangs and a bunch of Latino drug dealers. I'm talking about corporate people that preyed on children, politicians that were corrupt to all hell. It could be innocent people, formerly innocent people that dabbled into the wrong type of occult and spiritual undertakings like seances, which involve communicating with the people on the other side, which is a no-no, even in the Bible. Although I'm not a Christian, the Bible is a document of worth and import to anyone who wants to glance at its pages. But you need to take some of these things serious no matter where the warning comes from. If you know this information, that there are people there, what you don't want to do is create an environment reflective of what these people would like inside of their life while they were living. Like, for example, if you live a really let's say raunchy lifestyle, you're a very sexual, open person, you like to keep a lot of people around you, like a big circle, and let's say your house is basically run like a whorehouse, for lack of better terms, the type of spirits that you will attract will be, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, there will be dead Johns, pimps, prostitutes, vagrants who were strung out and murderers in their attempt to obtain their fix. You could literally run into crooked cops. I mean, serial killers. The nurse lady that poisoned children to get kicks while nobody was paying attention at the daycare center. People like that, they're everywhere. Like, you can run into people that have been dead since the Civil War. Make no mistake, there's a lot of ghosts lingering around, and it's because they were numbskulls. There's no other way to say. These were rotten. They're a rotten apple, so the astral plane is like a net to catch these rotten apples, and they have nothing better to do than attack you. Because through attacking and attaching themselves to you and your surroundings and basically hunting your premises in yourself, is they live the life that they cannot live anymore. They want you to turn on a pornography so they can sit in the corner of your house and just stand there. You think you're seeing shadow people, and they're sitting there watching that with you. They're listening to the type of music you like with you. Sometimes music can be annoying to the entities in the astral plane. I don't want to go into astral dynamics, but sound is amplified in the astral plane. It's for some reason that's the case. And I learned a few secrets about using sound to ward off spirits. There are certain sound frequencies which they find annoying. And awkwardly enough, the federal government and these CIA, ISR, gang stalking operations uses sound to assault its targeted individuals, to irritate them. And they can literally physically alter that sound down to a microwave format and cook your body's internal organs on the inside. They can cook the cartilage at your joints, and they can cook bone marrow in you and give you radiation sickness without any visible radioactive remains or something. There's no trace evidence in these clean soft kills. As when the CIA was using this stuff, this was soft kills going after spies from other countries, and they're using it out here in the public. Is finna be Super Bowl law enforcement. All right, they're finna put this shit on TV and manipulate the heck out of this side. But I'm getting off point. But back to sound in the astral plane. Everything vibrates on a frequency, including you, the fork that you're finna eat your breakfast with. The couch you're sitting in your car. When you play music, the speaker has to vibrate at so many frequencies in order to reproduce the sound that is digital information that's where it is on your MP3 player, on your iPad or whatnot. So when you understand that there's sound that can transfer from one dimension to the next, what you must now understand, that these entities, these dead people that have went to this other side, they're bored. And because you're a living human, especially if you're, like I said, if you're a very saucy, raunchy, like loose person, or if you're somewhat of a wicked, kind of sinister, like if you're a rotten person, you like to hang around really like street, hardcore people that are the cutthroats, people that don't mind taking $50 to go put one of your enemies in a dumpster type of people. When these people die, make no mistake, they're not going to be able to say, please forgive me, oh Lord Jesus, the Messiah, please forgive me, I know I've sinned, will you pull me out of this? They're going to be talking to more dead people who are living like them, and they're going to be praying to the walls. So after a while, they're going to become bored, and they're going to target people that are still living. They're attracted to areas of high crime, prostitution, and things like that. And beyond them, there are other sorts that get in there. People conducting experiments. The Nazis were into these type of programs. And no doubt, you probably would imagine America, Russia, perhaps even China, and some of the other more powerful societies on this planet have potentially been involved in experimenting on sending people into the astral plane temporarily so that they could perform operations. For example, how does this tie into spiritual personal attacks with the IRSR operation? Well, if federal agents have developed the ability to basically gang their minds up on you and even astrally project their thoughts and eventually themselves into your presence to assault and abuse you, which they can do. I know you don't believe me, but trust me, this technology goes a little over my head, even though I come from an intelligence background inside the United States Army, where I was a specialist working over at the 101st. But I won't go too much into any more detail on that because it's kind of unimportant at the moment. But these people are bored and they'll hurt you. But there are also people who are more organized, and it will seem like attacks are coming at you from all sides because these federal types, they layer the attack and they combine it with, like, you turn your cell phone on and you're sitting up there texting and chatting on social media. Your cell phone is talking back to you with the voices of these federal agents who are heckling your thought process, and they can tune your eardrums in order to hear this better, and so it's not audible to the people around you. All right, and that's just part of it. They can vibrate, like I was saying, they can vibrate off parts of your body. They can make you crap, defecate on yourself, vomit up, cause scar tissue inside you. They can use sound for a variety of effects. And it's worse because they can also project themselves around you and basically mimic the behavior of these violent, angry, dead ghosts, which is what they are. A lot of these people are just hanks, which is a Native American word for angry spirit. And these spirits are malevolent. They have hang-ups. And they are bent, they're held. That's why they hunt people, and that's why they perform these like hostile activities inside of your homes, like poltergeist like activity, which there are two types. The number one type of poltergeist activity that these astral denizens will carry out would be annoying stuff that only a human would do. The second type would be things that are coming from higher level astral entities, and I don't mean like some video game where there's these huge archdemons spitting fireballs. No, there's like aliens who come to this planet. All right, and if you can imagine that we were created by aliens, and some of these aliens were fallen, like the Bible in the Book of Enoch, and even some of the Sumerian texts went into that they would die too, and also wind up in a similar state. You know, so after a while, their bodies linger and they become bored. So what better to do than what everyone else is doing in the astral plane? They're going after the people who are still living that can still enjoy life, or they can vicariously hunt you and enjoy life through you, and they will become aggressive and kind of protective of you, but like a animal over a prey carcass. And these are, they are literally Raphaim, Giberim. They're fallen entities that are mixed between humans and these beings that came down here with God, that rebelled. And now that their lives are wasted and the generation they come from is over with, there are no more pyramid builders and ziggurat cities for them to conquer and rule over. So now they're going to rule over your life inside of your living room, and they're going to rule over your dream life and your imagination. They'll assault you, attack you from all sides, just like these feral types. So not only do we have to worry about demons, we'll have to worry about living human beings who've come into an understanding. I don't care where via just hard work and field research, or where it was through exchanges with Nazi scientists after World War II with the infamous Project Paperclip. You've probably heard of people going down to Antarctica and other places around the world, going into these mountainsides and stuff, digging up these hidden pyramids that have been covered over by time and dust and probably the flood too. And if they find any trinkets left behind by these high-level fallen angels that obviously had advanced technology, if they were creating hybrids and manipulating the human race and just about everything else on the planet, from animals on to the the lowliest plant, and you can imagine they were teaching people how to remotely kill a baby inside. Well, you got to understand, why would God mention in the book of Enoch that the angels were teaching these witches how to injure a baby in the stomach remotely? I mean, this is the type of stuff that caused the flood here. So you don't want to dabble into the occult with a pair of blinders on and think that there's going to be a tunnel of light waiting for you on the other side with Jesus standing there. You're going to run into a bunch of miscreants and astral critters. You can imagine there's stray dogs there. There's wildlife that shouldn't be there. I live in the state of Alabama. Maybe there's probably a wolf here and there. They're not really numerous in this area, because I guess the part of the South that is in. But in the astral plane, that's not the case. You can run into a dire wolf. You don't have to worry about a common Mexican or timber wolf. You could run into a dire wolf. You could run into a freaking hyena done. American cave lions, they still exist. But mundane stuff like the giant sloth could be there. You might see astral cats, cats that are not dangerous, foxes, snakes, you name it, rats, roaches, anything that exists in this world, plus extinct species that are there. And there are terrifying creatures there too, called Shadim. And I don't fully understand what a Shadim is, but I know Shadims were a type of ancient Middle Eastern demon, akin to like a punishing spirit, or they were associated with evil winds. So it's like, when people say they feel like they're being hunted, and people report that there's a cold chill whenever the ghost comes into their presence, I can imagine that some of those ghosts probably ain't grandma, or some thug that just got himself shot yesterday and has nothing better to do than hang around the projects in his ghost form. There are fallen entities there, and there are demonic entities, and a lot of times people attract these because I could put you an example how you could wind up under a situation of psychic assault involving a higher level demon as well as these low level demons. What happens is, let's say if you're let's give you another example. This is a family this time. Let's see, a family of four. It's the wife, the husband, 2 kids. As a family, you're into stuff like Ouija boards. You like the occult. You're into all types of crystals, pagan and religions, and all types of different like shamanic practices. Some of it harmless, some of it misunderstood and can be harmless. Others just mundane and it's ridiculous. But it doesn't matter. If you create an environment around you, you got dark imagery like plastic skulls, crystals and stuff lying around, candles, and stuff lit, and you listen to dark sounding, dark themed music, and you're trying to, as a family, invite spirits from the other side to come in and talk to you, and all of a sudden you discover that your house is haunted and it's on like Dateline NBC special, or something like that right there, and your kid's walking backwards up the wall and you can't do anything about it. Well, that's a Shadim. It probably died during the Great Flood, and the Native Americans who were living during that time period probably thought they were giants and recorded them as the red-haired giants. And now that they are, and not to mention that they have a higher psychic ability than us, so when the assault comes from one of these higher level demons, it's going to be 9 times more nasty than what a bunch of gang members who are dead can come into your house and harass you do. You know what I'm saying? It can be horrendous. They'll get inside your body, make you behave badly at school, work, wherever your life circumstance happens to be. And I hope like the heck you're not in the gang, because you can go shoot somebody because that demonic energy does not care. It can possess you. And a lot of people are like, what is this crazy man talking about? Well, for all intents and purposes, these entities do exist. And like I was saying, if you're under some type of attack, what you don't want to do is create the environment by which these demons feel comfortable around you, and they'll become more attracted to you. By you create, if there's things you can change about yourself and your circumstances to make it more peaceful and less full of negative energy, then you can try that, because a lot of times they don't like peaceful, mundane environments, because you can imagine that it's boring. You know, the demons will go away. The astral people will go away. The astral wildlife isn't going anywhere, but it's not gonna hunt you either. You know, so it's just a house cat that wanders in. A rattlesnake can just be in your house, but it can't bite you because it's in the astral plane. If you die, then all of a sudden you can see that rattlesnake coiled up in your hallway. You know, and besides, you know, you're a ghost now, so I wouldn't be too concerned about it. But like I said, once you die, you do need to be even more concerned, because what you're gonna eventually find on the other side, if you're a miscreant or a bad person, a numbskull that's not gonna make it, you're gonna run into these people. You're gonna run into these demons, and what's worse, the aliens that created us left emissaries behind on this planet that are up above your head. They transverse both realities, and they can cross clear into the dream universe too. So they're looking for souls. The emissaries are looking for souls, and I'm gonna go ahead and pause for a second. I need to take a quick break, and when I come back, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up, and I'm gonna talk about the soul harvest, since everybody thinks it's the end of the world. So I'm gonna pause right about now, and I'll be back. So yeah, I'm back. I had to take a quick break. So what I wanted to talk about is after you die, you know, how do these astral denizens affect you? Because now that you obviously know some of them are bad, and not a lot of good people are going to want to die and hang around. And so you're probably wondering, what happens to the good people, and why are there not good poltergeists hunting people's home? Why is there not more of grandma hanging around the house after she's died? Why is your favorite dog, Lucky, not hanging around like other actual wildlife would? Well, either A, you're a bad person, and even the damn dog didn't like you. Excuse me, I'm a grown up, 34 years old, so I can slip one in every now and then. But even the dog didn't like you. You know what I'm saying? So you're gonna find yourself in this place where all these people who lived like you or akin to you or have a spiritual baggage built up on their soul imprint to the degree that they automatically gravitate to this negative, depressing, dark place called the astral plane. It's dark there. It's a spirit world, by no means heaven. All right, there's no secret paradise you can just walk around the corner. It's paradise. There are entities that will stalk you in that world. They will prey on you, and they will feed on your astral energy until your astral body actually dissipates. These are psychic vampires. So not only do you expose yourself to these hateful people that have died, you expose yourself to psychic vampires that will abuse you. These fallen entities, these demons, they're demonic entities now. Just like the book of Enoch said, these are the ones that were made when the sons of God chose to cohabit with the daughters of men. And when these spirits came out of them when they died, these hybrids, they had no place to go because they were born on the earth, although their origin, their spirits, originated in heaven. God says their spirits originated in heaven even though they were born on the earth. He makes that distinction between us and them and the other angels. So they're halflings. They're stuck between that reality that God comes from and they're stuck in our reality to agree. So they linger. And you can imagine if you're dead now, you're going to have to live with these entities. And who knows what they look like. From what the book of Enoch in the Bible was describing, who knows what they look like. You know, horrific. Probably, I can imagine they might be mangled with DNA imprints left over from, animals that should never have been introduced into the human genome. And you can imagine people are dying and they're finding themselves trapped in this place. And there's only so much of you that can actually die once you get there, so it becomes a torture. So once this demon get done feeding on you, after it overpowers you in the astral plane, it's just going to walk off until the next demon finds you, and it's going to prey on you. You can imagine this can go on indefinitely. Let's say if you died in like 1975, and now it's 2017, I can imagine you've seen some things in the astral plane, and if you've not been pulled out of there in the soul harvest that's taking place even as we speak. Some people believe in a rapture and like the eventual return of God in some form of salvation. I believe that's already taken place, and it's been taking place ever since God ever said it was going to be taking place one day. I believe that judgment immediately happens as soon as you die. And if they want you, God and his emissaries, if they want you, man, if you've been a good person, they're going to snatch you right on up out of there, man. They're not going to leave a bunch of kids just strolling around. But unfortunately for us, there are ways that children can get stuck there too. So you can imagine there's all walks of life stuck in the astral plane. Traumatized people go there. Emotionally distraught people go there. So it eventually ends up, what it ends up being is a sort of purgatory. And for people more or less like that, what the astral plane does, it kind of like, it kind of chambers itself around your consciousness. And let's say all that's wrong with you before you die is that you are traumatized. Maybe the astral plane will just be reflective of the environment which traumatized you. And you'll linger there. Until you stop lingering, you'll be stuck. And the emissaries may come and appeal to you. You know what I'm saying? But things to watch out for. I really shouldn't describe the emissaries, but I want to say this. The emissaries do not look like humans. All right, there are some who do, but those are people who have already crossed over and just want to help, and they're working with the emissaries. But it's a fishing game. It's literally what it is. It's a fishing game. These UFO craft exist in multiple dimensions, and one of the jobs of some of these UFO craft is, as you can imagine which direction I'm going in, is to collect good souls. Now, they're not stalking up there to collect bad souls, but eventually bad souls will be recycled. But I don't think they're the ones doing the recycling. I think after a while living in the astral plane, the astral body dissipates, and eventually the point of awareness also dislocates from the astral reality and goes back into the source universe of the dream time, bereft of whatever it was before. And you can imagine it goes back into the counter wheel of life, and you'll pop out in another lady's womb somewhere because you were a human before you died, and so you incarnate as it pertains to a human being. And that's just my belief, as I understand it, as I've been told and made to understood. And why you don't see good people around is because they're not gonna want to stick around and help you or anything else. If anything, you'll see an act of goodwill from some of those UFOs. But half of the time you might be too busy running from demons. As you can imagine, the UFOs can probably scare these demons off. But at the same time, you don't want to find yourself one of the people that has to stew first. You know, just sit there in the astral plane and stew for like 10 years. You know, you sitting up there for a decade before you figure it out, like, oh, I was rotten. Holy crap. And you can't, you know, so, and there's no guarantee when it comes to stuff like that. Some traumas and some hang-ups and fixations inside the psyche can't be repealed, you know. So you can imagine these people are damned to go reincarnate, you know. So they're going to be born again, all right? Just you have to start over from scratch. The only thing that will remain is the point of awareness. They won't remember anything. If anything, they'll have past life flashes and glimpses. Sometimes souls just aren't old enough. When they die, there's nothing of substance that they can go on. There's nothing to be worked with. So, of course, you know, they're going to be reincarnated or recycled around, given another chance because they never achieved or learned anything. You know, you imagine if the baby dies at 3, it doesn't know a whole lot. And there's not a whole lot these alien beings that are sent by God can do with a soul that's uneducated. And it's very important that people live and educate their souls as long as they possibly can on earth and maximize the potential chance that they will survive in order to increase their spiritual integrity. What I mean by spiritual integrity is the ability of the astral body to actually hold form and retain information, memory, lifetime educational memory, which is your soul, which is released once the spirit body dies in the second death. Once you make it through the second death, one of two things can happen to you. Either you're going to be recycled, or if you've really just transmigrated even beyond the restraints of the astral plane into this dream time where it's the causal source universe. It's the universe where things originate and potential. They originate there, and you might can say it's their first spark, the first idea. It's like this is what constructs what could be. So it's all imaginary. It's the mental universe. So this is where what could be is constructed. All right. So once you get there, that's eternity. All right. I don't want to go deep into that, but yeah, you can imagine the dream time can be pretty interesting, to say the least. But it's out of the scope of the video. But back to what I was saying, these spiritual assaults versus the physical RSR assaults or gang stalking operations. These can be combined, but it's only because these federal agencies are using frequencies around you that are making it easier for these astral people to create conduits by which they can harass and cost you. And that's what they're going to do. They're bored. They have nothing better to do. And these federal agents don't give a shit because they're trying to remove you from society anyway. And the main object is to kill you or to make you go nuts so you'll remove yourself from society or run in with law enforcement and have them gun you down. Maybe you'll snap and go do a mass public shooting and ensure that you make it look good for the federal agents. You know, that's their aim. But besides them just screwing around with people who used to work for the federal authorities or whatever, it's not going to be the same situation with everybody. Some people just need to monitor who they hang with, what type of surroundings they like, what type of things they like to put out about themselves and around them, which attracts other people and energies and spirits to them. You know, if you like all this occult stuff and don't go into it thinking that it's going to attract some sort of a spiritual psychic response, then it's going to probably destroy your life at some point. If it is in the process of destroying your life, and it's not like, if you understand that it's not coming from any like source or like a federal agency that wants you gone, and that it really is something spiritual that's targeting you, then you need to change immediately what you were doing that attracted them there. And I can guarantee you it's something you became interested in. Maybe it's that book you picked up a year ago at Books A Million Casually and thought that dabbling in it was going to go away. Maybe it's that seance you and your girlfriend attended. You know, maybe it's the hangout crowd. Maybe you hang out with a bunch of Wicca people or stuff like that. They're not to say Wiccan people attract evil to themselves, because Wicca is a kind of open religious practice where it kind of varies from Wiccan to Wiccan what practices they do. So if you're into anything like that is designed to attract nature spirits and all this stuff right here, hope you know that nature spirits might actually be fallen angels or shit down. I mean, so you don't want to attract this stuff to you, and you don't want to die and end up missing the soul harvest. All right, where these UFOs are waiting for people in this tragic time that we live in. They're slaughtering people on a global scale. It's not just the United States military industrial complex. Like, you gotta wonder what's wrong with the people up there in Myanmar. You gotta wonder what's going on with Saudi Arabia and what they did to Yemen. Like, you gotta wonder what's going on inside Islam, that people would want to kill their own fellow Muslims. You gotta wonder what's going on when regime change happens overnight. Like, there's no warning. It just happens overnight, and you have a dead world leader being broadcast on YouTube and social media with the talking heads of the news media world laughing at it like it's a Super Bowl game. So you got to understand that because we live in a world where people don't care, and they're engineering wars that remove more people from the planet, so they have less miscreants and numbskulls to deal with. They're going to be indiscriminate. These people are not psychic and all. No, they don't know who's a good or a bad person, or who's going to later develop a free energy device to propel humanity out into outer space. So God isn't going to wait on humanity to develop all that. God is going to let this generation run its course. All right, God, from my understanding, is a higher evolved intelligence that thought he could create a new way to experience life on this planet, And the vessel chosen eventually was the human body. And as a result of the human body being the vessel of God, each human body is its own separate vessel of God. It has its own point of awareness, which originated with God. So you bear the imprint of God on you. So it's coming from wherever God came in the universe. You can imagine that God's going to want to stick around in some form, or at least have emissaries. You can call them angels, stick around and collect these people up when they get to the other side. And which is going on. I can promise you, I'm not going to really go into details exactly how I know that. But trust me, I have faith that that really is going on. And I don't mean that in a religious connotation. Just trust me, I have reason to believe, just like the floor hasn't caved in under me right now, it's still standing solid, that when you die, you will be sorted out. Either you'll be left to stew, or you'll be taken. And if you're left to stew, you're in danger. That's all I got to say on that point right there. But while you're alive, you want to minimize your associations to things that would invite a negative environment, which is positive to negative entities on the other side, including dead people who have nothing better to do than sit up and watch over your shoulder as you watch music videos. You know, these people, if you're watching the Super Bowl, a ghost is enjoying the game too. It probably died in, 1935, reading Buck Rogers comic books for all we know. So you want to keep that in mind. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. I've pretty much touched most of the topics I want to touch on here. I'm going to post this to YouTube and share it on Facebook, which is my only other social media account. Take it for what it's worth and with a grain of salt. Like, if you wanted to contact me, just write into the comment section. I don't accept any friends requests on Facebook, so don't bother. And I'll say anything on Facebook, so don't bother. But this is going to be on YouTube. Feel free to share it. Take it for what it's worth. Do what you will with it. And I'm going to practice trying to take my own advice as much as I can, because I am a victim of some of these gang stalking assaults. Although I can say that asserting my own personality kind of defeated the astral stalking. So I'm not worried about Shaddam and dead people right now, but I am worried about a particularly nasty federal agency that likes to remove people that have worked inside of intelligence circles like I have. So that's what I'm dealing with on my end. I was dealing with the demonic stuff because, like I said, I can give you fair warning that I was into the occult very deeply when I was younger, at least on the study side. And even studying that stuff will take you further into that world and to that darkness that is the occult. If you want to avoid it, just walk away from it right now. Walk away from it immediately. The minute you feel that you've been doing wrong, that's when you should walk away. If this message that I'm putting together now makes you feel like what you were doing is the source of that harassment and negative spiritual assault inside your life, then get that stuff around you. I used to read Aleister Crowley's books online, man, and I'm wondering if that stuff was possible. I performed one of his rituals, which is called the Ritual of the Sword. And that's the only one I was willing to get into out of Libra Al Vegas. I read Moonchild and some of his other stuff. But the best thing to do is not involve yourself in stuff like that, because occult workings are completely dangerous. And when I did the conjuration of the sword, what actually happened was I kind of opened myself up to possession from not necessarily negative entities themselves, but from the energy that these negative entities produce, exude, and they enjoy. And what these entities want to do is cause your spirit to model itself inside of your body after them. They will change the resonance of your internal being and make it reflective of them. So when you die, the other guys have them. So you can imagine that if God's emissaries have things going on, that the demonic reality has its own type of soul harvest. And I was dangerously close to being harvested by the wrong side of the house, and I had to make the decision that I was gonna confront my own personal quirks and the negativity that was living inside me that made me want to open up these doorways and use that energy to get back at the people around me, because I created my own type of magic. I didn't believe in Wicca, occult, pagans, candles, skulls, and stuff like that, pentagrams and stuff like that. I think pentagrams look cool if you're into like death metal and stuff. I still think they look cool, but they don't do anything. And besides, the occult is using the symbol wrong. The symbol is not even magical or anything. A pentagram is a worthless, outdated symbol that's used to mean good luck and stuff like that. But besides, don't worry about like all these trinkets and necklaces and crappy like herbal remedies for like clearing out ghosts and all that stuff. I never into that stuff, but I was more into like the occult stuff of the Ordo Templi Orientis and Theosophy. I've studied into Theosophy, and as you can imagine, this stuff is spiritual medium type of work here. That's the type of occult I'm talking about. So I was involved in being a spiritual medium, and it backfired on me. And it coupled with obviously the fact that I was military intelligence, that these people were trying to destroy me for years, and I didn't realize that it was being done. It's like, what's happening now that these spirits seem to have been gone, and they seem to have walked away, and they don't like me anymore. I'm not being harassed by what sounds like demonic energies anymore. Because at one point I was falling asleep at night and hearing growls and stuff right next to the bed coming from large non-terrestrial entities they look like vampires. For all intents and purposes, they look like a cross between a human and a dragon. Like what's his name? What's the guy's name? What is this? Marcus Corvinus off the Underworld series. I don't know if that was Marcus Corvinus or Alex. What is it? There's Marcus, Alexander, and Richard Corvinus. Well, anyway, the vampire one, when he shows his true form, that's what those things do in the astral plane. They'll present themselves to you as a human wearing a dark robe or with a top hat kind of thing on, like the shadow hat figure. Usually it's like a hood or a robe. But if you stare at them long enough, eventually you'll see through the form that they're projecting at you, which is just a shadow, and you'll realize that this entity has its wings folded around its body and up to its face in order to present a profile, much like that old movie Mimic from the 90s, where these dark entities were living up under the subway systems, and they were approaching humans, and they look just like humans when they approach you. But once you realize what it is, it's a predator. It's a predatory life form that mimics humans. And that's what those things are in the astral plane, and it is not important enough that people dabble into the occult so you can die and run into these things. It's just not important enough to learn about the occult. That's why I think that God and so many religions ward you away from occult practices and things like sorcery that will open up your mind to these other dimensions. Like LSD is a real gateway drug. People say marijuana is a gateway drug. Maybe marijuana is the gateway drug to becoming a pothead and a pizza delivery guy. But if you want to talk gateway drugs, you're talking about ayahuasca, you're talking about LSD, you're talking about psilocybin mushrooms and things like that right there. What you don't want to do is start taking acid trips and attending seances at the same time. If you're that interested in DMT and dream visions and astral journeys, you might want to consider traveling down to Brazil and having a professional native Indian, what do they call Andean shaman do it for you. You might want to travel to Brazil and have the professionals have the Indians do it for you. They'll serve you up some ayahuasca tea. You're gonna vomit. There's gonna be a fire, a little dancing, ceremony from their culture or traditions, and you'll get your spiritual experience. Just don't do it in the middle of New York in some high-rise apartment with like three, 25-year-old girls from the GameStop you work at. And then, as soon as you get your trip going, you're playing with Ouija boards with the lights off and one damn candle in the middle of the floor. Of course, you're going to start seeing shadow people and demonic shit going on. Dishes start flying across the room because you just opened the door for the thing to use you as a conduit, for the next 15 minutes to trash the damn apartment. So, to stop this, not do it. It's simple. There's no other teaching on how to get that to stop other than to say, stop doing it and change the environment that presents itself as positive and a refuge for these entities. Let's see, what else didn't touch on? Okay, so now that you know what happens on the astral plane, you don't have to take my word for it, but you know, you just you know, don't get stuck. This is a definitive generation, and I don't think it's gonna hold together much longer with all the warfare, all the wanton slaughter, all the hatred, and just that rampant technology and careless use of this advanced wireless technology. I mean, they're literally just frying our fucking bodies while we're being fried around the clock. It's not just people who are being directly targeted by these cell phone towers being amped up and hijacked by these federal agencies, because it's a cesspool. It's a literal cesspool. These entities can travel through these frequencies. So these numbskulls, I don't know if it's on purpose with CERN and stuff like that. Well, I don't know if they're trying to do experiments and throw the gate open, like the movie The Mist, when all these astral entities are allowed to temporarily conquer that little small town until the army comes in and has to like literally blowtorch and shoot the rest of them that remain down. So you can imagine they're in the mountains running some kind of machine, and it opens a damn door. And you got CERN over there, no kind of insight from the outside as to what these people are doing to this planet and this reality. HARP, of course, this ridiculous 5G expansion. I mean, wow, you got social media companies talking about digitizing the human thought process. Who asked you to proceed to digitizing everyone's thought process without even, I mean, really? I mean, look, the scariest thing is you have to worry about yourself and those people that care about you. And I'd hate it for if you have children in this generation, just like the Bible says. I hate it for if you got children right now, because the eventuality of your death occurring before that child, and you not being able to influence that child, will directly affect the destination of that child's soul. So start now while you're still here. Chastise your children. Chastise yourself first. The more you chastise yourself, the more of an example of what to do and how to be a upstanding human being you can be to your own children, so that they don't have to worry about that astral journey either. When it comes knocking on their door, it will come knocking on your door soon or later. Death will come knocking at the door for all of us. And what you don't want is more of the same except worse, and on the other side, because there are no authorities on the other side to stop any of that stuff. Like, so if you want to get gang raped on the other side, or if you want to get assaulted by astral vampires because you're a numbskull gangbanger and you shot a bunch of people, and now you can't be taken into this higher reality, then that's kind of your fault eventually. Especially if you knew better. It's usually the people who knew and did not care that never get out. It's because they knew. It's because they knew they never get out. Live a self-examined life. Now watch yourself.